Welcome, everybody. I got a special guest today. Hi, Joshua. Good to have you.
Hi, nice to meet you finally.
We're going to be talking about some of the shadow work, and he specializes in shadow work, personas. Let's get into a bit of your life story and how you got here.
Sure. So, like most kids, well, I wouldn't say most kids, but some kids, they have like an idea that they had an idealized, childhood or whatever. It's like a Steven Spielberg movie until the inciting event. The way that I understand the inciting event that occurs in every person's life, they call this the sacred wound. I was 10 years old, and my dad decided that he wanted a divorce from my mother, and I
Mm,
was sort of unprepared for that, as I had a kind of an idealized childhood up until that point.
yeah.
And when that unfolded, my nervous system wasn't super prepared for that. And I don't think my parents were equipped to even take care of me in the way that they might have needed to at that time. So it's this like children having children wounding their children. It's kind of that whole generational kind of trauma
Mm,
thing that we see. And on that trip, I moved from California to Georgia to stay with my grandparents. Um, my mom had a nervous breakdown on the way, and I ended up being at a Taco Bell for about 4 hours, 5 hours by myself with my sister. So
mm.
that was the abandonment here, and then another layer of abandonment there, and then my mom came back, and from that's essentially what I would point at as being like the inciting event, the secret wound in my life.
Mm.
And everything kind of unfolded from there, a sense of unworthiness, a sense of having to do good or produce something in order to be loved and cared for, and to not continually experiencing this level of abandonment. And when I got to Georgia, I ended up becoming very depressed. I was generally healthy prior to that, and then Georgia, you're more isolated. I grew up on military bases, so like
Oh,
as a kid, you kind of have free range, kind of a free range child. Um, but once I got to Georgia, I ballooned. Like by the time I was a sophomore in high school, I went from a fit little kid to about 300 pounds. I
oh.
was very overweight. I was super depressed, high level of anxiety. I was on medication for a while,
Mm.
but we were pretty disadvantaged. Like we lived in Section 8 housing. We did not have a lot of money, so I didn't have a lot of access to resources. School counselors helped some, but they're kind of like wartime medics. They're doing triage and just trying to get you through the day, kind of thing. Um, so that long story short, that led to a 10-day silent retreat that I did maybe 10 years ago. And as I started to do this work, I started to realize like there's a lot of things that I believed about myself and I believed about other people that were stories. And then I started to contextualize those things as I learned more and more and more. I learned Jungian archetypes. I learned sort of indigenous kind of ways of thinking about the world. And it's really like a big deconstruction of a lot of the things I learned in my childhood in order to build a story internally that was actually useful, rather than having a constant worry in your mind, a negative thought pattern in your mind all the time. So where does that lead us to shadow work and things like that?
Yeah.
Um, I'm grounded in a lot of Buddhist tradition. I started with Vipassana meditation. I became a Vipassana meditation teacher. Um, and I think those mate well with the Jungian archetype conceptualization of our inner world. Um, Shadow work is, from my perspective, being grounded in Dharma work, is understanding things that are coming up inside of your consciousness, being aware of those things, and then giving them sort of their own personas. Because the way that I feel inside changes moment to moment. And maybe in this moment, I'm feeling triggered by something my wife said. And there's a certain pattern of energy that I can recognize inside myself. And maybe I label that the evil scientist, or I label that the drill sergeant, or there's all different types of archetypes, and there you can point at each of them and say, these are part of the collective consciousness. You
Yep.
could say things like king, magician, warrior,
Yeah.
the very archetypal base of those things.
The wounded healer.
The wounded healer, um, all of these things are, every single one of them is valid, but I've noticed over time that like you can take the definitions that Jung had. I'm a big fan of Bill Plotkin's work. I have all of his books here. He has a whole different kind of mythos
Mhm.
of different archetypes. Um, but what I found is every person has different words that resonate with them personally.
Yeah.
So, like maybe as a teacher or a coach, I am working from. It's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. There's like a rogue, a warrior, a caster. There's all these different things that fit these particular roles. But like for you, you might have completely different context, so you would have resonating with different words
Yeah.
that might add up to being able to articulate the shadow thing. So, as an example, that little boy that I was at the Taco Bell back in the day when I was having this traumatic experience, I call him the little boy inside. And he comes up often. Like, this is a very old pattern in my body. And he comes up in relationship to anything that I might feel elemental fear of. Um, and sometimes it comes up in layers too. So, like, my wife will say something, I'll get angry in response to that, and then I have to kind of interrogate internally. I have to feel internally, and sometimes what's coming out as anger is not necessarily anger. I have to interrogate deeper because anger is like a protective mechanism, right? It's articulating boundary. Get
Yep.
away, stop, don't, and then but underneath that, what is that? Is it an existential fear of death? Is it a fear of abandonment? Is it the wounded, that sacred wound coming up? Um, and generally we can track back, depending on what our emotions are, down into a place that usually fear and grief. Fear and grief are pretty much the big ones, and then we organize our whole lives around not having to feel those things. So, I mean, I think doing shadow work is a process of becoming aware of your inner terrain
Yeah.
and then demarcating it on a kind of an internal map, so when things do come up for you, you can give yourself a break. One, you're like, I've been through this terrain before.
Yep.
Oh, there's shadow self Josh in relationship to that. Cool. This has worked in the past. It creates space, and you're not torching relationships and interpersonal business stuff and whatnot.
So I guess the first start is just giving yourself a chance to play that old mechanism, let it play out, and be aware
Yeah.
constantly
Yeah,
without changing,
yeah,
maybe without even changing, just letting it come out and see see
yeah,
it.
yeah, and I would point to that. That's actually a really great way to put it. Letting your emotions. I think of emotions as kind of when you're in a car and you have lights in your car.
Yep.
I think of emotions that way. You're not responding to low tire pressure. You're like, oh, I'm such a terrible person because low tire pressure. We don't do that. We're like, it's neutral. It's like, oh, maybe it's inconvenient,
Yeah.
but it's just low tire pressure. And this is the way that I try to at least with my clients and like my students, I try to help them see that their awareness is what's in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Their vehicle is like their car, their body, and your body is going to have feedback because it's experienced in the world, and a lot of these archetypes they come up again and again and again, like low tire light or engine light or check your oil or whatever, gas. You're low on gas. When you're hungry, you're just low on gas.
Yep.
But you have a physical sensation of being hungry, and that can trigger all different kinds of patterns of energy in your body. You might be act like a asshole
Yep.
because you're just hungry
Yep.
and not be aware that you're just hungry. And this is why I articulate again and again, your emotions are signals of things that are unfolding in your consciousness, in your conscious awareness. And building your awareness is at the very base of being able to understand shadow aspects of yourself, because it's simply a feedback mechanism. Your body acts like an antenna in relationship to the environment. So like as a little boy, I learned that these sets of behaviors mean death. Death. Right now, you are going to die in this Taco Bell.
Hmm.
Like, and I internalized that. So like, but it doesn't mean that now. These behaviors that I experience don't mean that now, but it doesn't mean that my vehicle forgot that.
It's like
So
you're
like,
running some old apps. They're running in the background. You haven't updated them.
yes, yes, yes. And what people sometimes mistake is they forget that they are not machines. We are not machines. I only use it as an analogy.
Yeah.
We're living entities. We are growing and we are permeable to the environment. Um, we're trained to think that we're machines. Like our culture wants you to be a hustle machine. It wants you
Yeah.
to produce. It wants you to do this. It wants you to eat this and act this way and be in this, stand in this line and do this way. And that has nothing to do with your well-being.
Mm.
So like the care and love that little hurt little boy needs, especially when he's like super dark, super in his shadow, like Gollum in a cave.
Mm.
Um, I am the only person that can give him that love
Mm.
because nobody else understands that pattern of energy better than I do.
Yeah.
There's no one else. Like even if my mom and my dad they went to therapy for 40 years, they still could never go back to that moment and pick that little boy up and take care of him in order to save him from that suffering. So I try to articulate to people all the time the capacity that you have to build in order to
Mm.
transmute that wound
Yeah.
into something that's beautiful and usable is the point, is the process. Like your hero's journey, as Jung would say, is you understanding that that was the moment of the beginning of your adventure to become the person that you are destined to become. And what that can do is it can recontextualize that moment of wounding. Like one of the things I've been working on recently is I've spent a lot of time rebuilding my relationships with my mom and my dad.
Right.
And they they were not given that love and care that that little boy, me, needed in that moment. They didn't have it to give to me because they never got it,
Ah. Okay.
which this is like more a little more advanced. You start
Yeah.
going down that road and you start to understand that the compassion that you needed was something that they didn't even have. They didn't have the skill for themselves. Now I am resourced. Now my sacred wound turned into something where I am like, why did I become a meditation teacher? Because I want people to not have to suffer as much. And how do you do that? You build your awareness. And that awareness helps you articulate your story better. It helps you become more grounded. It helps you understand things. And now I am providing care to my mom and my dad that they never got.
Whoa. So
Which, you see what I'm saying? It's this crazy loop thing. And,
but it also stops. It stops with you, with your children.
this is it. I'm making the choice. I'm making the choice. I'm consciously saying, that was brutal. That was horrible. And I don't want to perpetuate that, you know? And I'm making the conscious choice of investing my time and energy into these relationships, not just for them, but also for that little boy to see. Like, I'm teaching my own little boy internally what compassion really is. Even the people that hurt me the most, I
Yeah.
have love and compassion for. And what that turns into is, I mean, considering the dumpster fire of the world we're in right now,
Yeah.
it turns into not more violence. Like, it turns into, oh,
Mm.
like, how would you treat an injured child? How would you treat them? You would scoop them up and you would tell them it's going to be okay and you would love them as hard as you could.
Mhm.
And people have such a hard time doing that for themselves because they've learned, and they have a shadow part that they don't feel like deserves that love.
Yeah.
And the only way to get past that is by building your awareness internally. Like, it's one of those things, like, it's kind of like going to the gym where, like, I can't lift the weight for you. You have to do it yourself. Like, and I
You
know
got to
you
find
know
out.
this. I
Yeah.
like I read all your bio and all the symptoms and stuff that you've
Yeah.
overcome. So you know, like,
Yeah.
you already know that process, and you already know each thing is just another thing on the thing, like another barbell you have to lift up, another lift you have to do,
Yeah.
and overcoming that resistance. That is the work.
Yeah. Um, did you ever find that facing some of these things that you didn't have the capacity to do it?
Often, often. Oh yes, often. It's part of what has driven the way that I approach teaching,
Mm.
and it's driven like the way that I approach life. I just had an experience recently. I travel for work, and I was in LA for about a month,
Yeah.
and I was completely overwhelmed by that job. Like, I was overwhelmed just to, a week ago.
Yeah.
And what it does, like, and like full, it's almost like I was back in the Taco Bell.
Oh, okay.
It
That's a lot to
felt
open.
that
That's a big
dysregulated.
activation.
It
That's
was huge activation, and I really had to lean on all of my practices. I really
right.
had to, like, I'm meditating twice a day, 30 minutes a day, or twice 30 minutes, so an hour total. Um, and the activation is, it's almost like pressure testing a bridge. Like when
Yeah.
they're opening a bridge, they're like, "Oh, is it gonna hold all of this traffic? Like, I don't know if we're gonna. Is it gonna
Yeah.
work? Like,
Yeah.
so they have to pressure test it, right? And this job I just came back from, absolutely shaken me to my depth. And what it does is it reminds me of, one. I mean, we're not we're not occurring in a vacuum, as individuals, as humans, and then as communities. We're not occurring in a vacuum. We have to occur in the, right now, I would say, miasma of the world right now.
Mhm.
So uh, that has an effect on your capacity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Life curveballs, right? And like for me, the way I build capacity is I have a lifestyle that I live. I do visualizations. I walk in nature. I elevate. I could use some more, but like these are the things that help me ground and stabilize my nervous system.
yes,
But then, I get, I'm I'm actually only started doing the deeper work, the shadow work, maybe a year and a half,
Yeah,
right? I'm at a place where I'm going slow. I'm not doing it desperately because I don't have 75 symptoms anymore. So for
yeah,
me, it was kind of um, it worked to do it in this stage because I couldn't have done it during the middle of my journey because it was just I didn't have the capacity,
yeah, yeah,
right? So
definitely.
building that capacity ongoing so that I can do some of the deeper work, I think is really, really important. Just like what you're mentioning, you do the meditations,
Yeah.
right? And then when you
There's,
feel like you have enough capacity, does that when you,
that's a good question. I I think it might be a good time. Is it okay to touch on psychedelic stuff?
whatever you want.
Okay, all right. So about 10 years ago, I started developing meditation. I went to a 10-day retreat, and that was one of the most difficult things that I've ever done in my life. It was a silent retreat.
Yeah.
So 10 days, no phone, no input. You're meditating like 10 hours, 12 hours a day. And my mind, it taught me that my mind was not, when you're going through your day to day life, you think you know stuff. Your
Yeah.
mind will tell you, you're like, oh, you're good, man. You're cool. And then
Yeah.
you're not. You're not. You're
No,
probably not.
no.
And we all have a breaking point. And
Yeah.
understanding where the edge of our capacity um, is not something that we consciously choose to put ourselves in situations where we're finding out where our capacity is at. So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
building capacity generally occurs at the edge of your ability. And
Hmm.
the edge of your ability is not generally something that's comfortable to do.
Right.
That's why when you're at the gym and it's so hard and you're sweating and your progressive overload is the way that our nervous systems function is difficulty trains adaptation.
Yeah.
So knowing what your capacity is and imagining what your capacity is are two very different things.
Right.
So one of the things that I try to do with, well, part of the reason I'm an advocate for meditation specifically is because it's free. You can do it. Anybody can do it all the time, everywhere. And it trains your edge all the time. Whenever you're engaging in meditation, especially in our world that's like hyper dopamine affixed,
Hmm.
if you can sit for 20 minutes with no input, um, that is rare
Yeah.
in our culture. It's very rare, and
Yeah.
I think it democratizes building capacity in a way that I I mean you could argue that there are other modalities that do that, but in terms of ubiquity and utility, I think meditation in particular is bar none probably the thing.
Yeah.
Um, I did want to talk about a little bit about psychedelics and where I think that they fit in.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
I started with a meditation practice, and I was reading a book by Sam Harris. It's called Waking Up, and this was many, many years ago when it came out.
Hmm.
And in that book, he said, if you want to know what it's like to feel like a master meditator, just take 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms.
Right.
And I
Five
generally had
grands. That's a
not.
lot, right? 5 grams.
That's
That's a shit.
they would consider that a hero dose. That's a
Okay.
relatively hard, like a big day. That's a big day.
Right. Yeah.
So I was coming from the perspective of meditation, and I still had anxiety. I still had deep depression, ideation at the time, and I'm like, okay, I'm seeing this stuff come out about psychedelics. I know somebody that could help me with it. So I gave that a shot. And at the time, I'm like gross materialist. You know, we're all meat sacks. There's no
Hmm.
such thing as spirit. None of that.
Right.
Um, and then I do this experience, and um, it's difficult to overstate how important I think it is for people to experience something like that. because up until that moment, I was so sure that I knew stuff. I was
Yeah.
so sure. And I think that assuredness internally kept me from a lot of the nuance
Hmm.
that afterwards I was able to access in relationship to things like shadow work, awareness of my internal landscape, the depth and the nuance that can be experienced, the beauty of existence. Um, the and I think psychedelics were, I think, used in a really judicious way, especially
Hmm.
if you have something like a mentor. I'm lucky enough to have a mentor who is training me directly.
That's
For
important.
I think it's really important, and I also think it's really important to be a part of a community that is grounded in something like meditation.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna. I'm not. I'm kind of agnostic to tools. I'm speaking from my own experience. So like, I can't say, eh, all the stuff that worked for me will work for you because everybody's different. But
Yeah.
one of the things that I do know is plant medicine communities can be dangerous
Mm.
if they're not grounded in practice. So
Right.
like people can not understand, like we're talking before, not understand what their capacity is, what their edges are, and they're
Yeah.
like, let's, they'll hear a thing, psilocybin solves depression in one thing, and then they'll hop into this container, and then they're completely wrecked for a
Yes.
year or years because
Which I
they
want to make
don't
sure
have,
everybody listens to right now. They have to
yeah,
go and bomb their
there's
nervous system, and then they come out, worse than they went
it's
in.
not worth the risk
Right.
related to that. And a lot of those studies that come out saying those things are in a clinical situation. And
Yeah.
clinical situations are harder to come by. I know that they exist in places like Colorado and Oregon,
Hmm.
but anything that's underground, you don't have any. With underground stuff, the reason it's dangerous is there's no accountability. There's almost no accountability, and I just got lucky. I
That's what I was
got
gonna
lucky.
say. You're
I got really lucky in my experience because there's been a lot of casualties. I know casualties personally. I know a
Yeah.
lot of casualties that have got on this whole psychedelics train, and it's not necessarily worked out for them. They've had a lot of they've actually experienced more trauma. Um,
What do you think is
and
happening when they're not ready? Do you think it's opening the gates too far?
that's a great question. I would say psychedelics are amplifiers.
Hmm.
What they can do is that they can amplify certain aspects of things that are occurring in your consciousness already, and they they open the doors. And I would use a camera analogy. Here, I got one right here. So this is a lens, right?
Hmm.
And it's got inside there's an aperture. And what you can do is you can open and close the aperture.
Hmm.
And what I would say is your what psychedelics do is they open the aperture wider.
Yeah.
So if you haven't trained your capacity to get unfiltered reality, you can get super dysregulated because what your nervous system does, and this take this to the bank.
Yeah.
Your nervous system is compresses reality. Okay, what we're experiencing is not what reality actually is.
Right.
We're a jello mold inside of our skull experiencing information coming through our eyeballs, right?
Hmm.
We're sensing things through this apparatus, right? But what reality actually is different than this. And we know this as an example. You look at a crow and you're like, oh, that crow is black.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's not. It's actually rainbow colored. We simply can't see those colors because our eyes don't produce those colors, but we know that that's true because we have instrumentation that can see that.
Mhm.
That's a great example of what a psychedelic does is it opens the aperture to what actually is
Yeah.
inside yourself. So it's great for something like shadow work. It's great for something like self-understanding and like I didn't come to psychedelics wanting to experience anything like the universe or divinity or anything like that, but that was a door prize for me.
Oh, nice.
And some people don't get that, but I have like the cosmic experience. I have the complete opening. It's humongous. I go to space. It's wild.
Did you see entities?
Bro, I've seen all of the things.
You know the entities from DMT, those little
Oh,
funny.
definitely yes.
Okay.
Oh, definitely yes. Yes. Almost all of the things that people talk about on psychedelics, I
Yeah.
have had that experience. But I try not to talk about a lot of those things, not because I don't think that they're useful, but what I am attempting to do is I don't want more casualties.
Yes.
I don't want more casualties of that. So like if
Makes
Um,
sense.
I, I I am in the process of building containers in other countries to have retreats where I help officiate some of these ceremonies where people can come and we can do this stuff. But in order to get into that cohort, I'm going to require a lot of someone to prove to me that they have built capacity. Like,
You
because
got
I
to
can
interview
talk to.
them.
Yeah, well, it's not just an interview. There's like practice. There's things that you got to be in. You got to be on some
Yeah.
calls. Like we got to do some stuff because if
Yeah.
if we are actually going to open that aperture, I need to be relatively sure that you are resourced. And when I say resourced, sometimes people don't understand that. They think that that's money or that's like having a family or something like that. Resourced means that you can handle adversity, and anything that acts as a resource to help you handle adversity is a resource. So
Yeah.
like family, interpersonal community, a
Right.
job, time, time to integrate. Like
Right.
let's open the aperture super wide, and then I get to meet all of my shadows at the
Yeah.
same time.
Shit.
And earlier that week, I had a fight with my boss where I might lose my job. That's not resourced.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's sticking you in a desert and you're feeling like you're gonna die. That's like exposing yourself to more trauma. So
Yeah.
it's this situation where like understanding where you're at is the place to start. Figure out where you're at, and then
Yep.
figuring out like you articulated just a second ago your lifestyle. You have built a lifestyle that is supportive and resourced for you to actually succeed on your journey and keep showing up. Like
Yep.
Frodo and Sam didn't get to Mount Doom because they weren't resourced. They had all their homies with them.
Yeah.
They were slogging through Mordor, but they had Legolas protecting their asses because they couldn't fight orcs. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and this is happening externally. So like you set your life up in a way that can resource you for something like that. And a lot of people enter into these things, especially psychedelics, in a flippant way. So like sometimes they'll get into a container and they're not even aware that they got traumatized. They're not even aware. They leave the container and then they're out dysregulated and completely messed up
Oh yeah.
and it shakes their worldview. These things are not people talk about them and they party and whatever, but they're not something to be approached without a very healthy, grounded respect
Yeah.
and to understand the depth of the traditions and lineages that have built prior. Like this is psychedelic use among indigenous cultures throughout the world, and things
Right.
like drum ceremony and the whirling dervishes and the Sufi tradition, and all altered states fall under this same umbrella. Like they're all going to help you grow and progress, but you're not necessarily they don't necessarily put people into those containers until they're ready.
Right. Things like ayahuasca or forcing kundalinis. That's another.
Ex- exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I would on ramp people. I would want people to have a strong on ramp, and one of the things that's missing in our culture is a cultural container. Like I'm just lucky to be in some very very awesome plant medicine groups. I'm just I just lucked out because I meet people all the time who have been like taken advantage of by healers and
Mm.
manipulated and had their money taken and had like because people that are coming to those containers are looking for relief. They're looking for ways to
Yeah.
ameliorate their pain and their nervous system problems, and they end up, getting robbed
Yeah.
or getting traumatized or worse, like physical abuse happens often.
But
So
what
like
about, okay, there's for money, there's for, what about people that do it for their ego? Like maybe cult like.
definitely, definitely, yes.
Can you tell me what is the wound or what is the reason why they're, I'm curious about that. Why do they do it for their, can you find the core?
I would point at power.
Ah,
So my wound, right? I'll correlate it back to myself.
okay.
Abandoned at the Taco Bell, not just by my dad, but also by my mom.
Right.
In my little 10-year-old head, right? I took it as I am depressed, I'm not worth it, I'm small, I'm bad, I'm a piece of shit,
Yeah.
those things. That's how I internalized that. But I could have taken it another way. I could have said, I will never be abandoned again.
Right.
Sword, power. I'm going to crush every enemy. I'm going to make billions of dollars. I'm going to create a
Right.
war machine that crushes everything, and I will get everything that I want, and I will never be abandoned again because I won't let it ever happen.
Right.
So that's where power and manipulation, that's at the core. The same wound, different response
Right.
because personality, just personality. So like you'll also notice that I said up until the time I was 10, it was kind of like a Steven Spielberg movie. It was good. Like I
Yeah.
was generally cared for. What if I hadn't been? What if until I was 10 I was debased or physically abused or sexually abused as a child?
Right.
What if they threw me in a closet and left me there? So the response of wanting power once you grew up is a pretty natural response to being locked
Yeah.
in a fucking closet when you're a little boy. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? You're like, nobody's ever putting me in a closet again.
Right. And do you think that sometimes when people are in that state, there's no amount of shadow work that could ever, they're just too far gone. That's who they are.
That's a very philosophical question. Um, I would say, I think I would prefer to be among the ranks of Nelson Mandela, the Dalai Lama, Gandhi. I would say that I would say something the effect of in a truly just society, like if we lived where everything is just, we would never ever inflict harm
Yeah.
on anyone. Like if somebody was like had a tumor in their head and they were blasting people at the Safeway, we would take them away from access to harming others, but we would not harm them because that's not what a just society does.
Yeah.
Um, so to say, are there people that are too far gone? I think philosophically, I would, if I had infinite resources and infinite time,
Yeah.
okay, if I had infinite resources and infinite time, I would say no. I
Right.
think people, I think people can change.
Well, it depends what you believe. If you believe that certain people weren't supposed to find anything past that because that's their script coming into this 3D planet, right? Maybe there's a reason for that. They're not supposed to find that way out.
I think, I mean, if you want to talk Dharma, everybody is on their own wheel.
Yeah.
They're living their own karma, and uh, that happens between lifetimes again and again and again and again.
Yeah.
I can't point at that as being true or not. It feels
Yeah.
true-ish,
It
you
resonates
know.
with me. I'm
It
okay with
resonates
that.
with me. It resonates with me, but I can't point at it and I can't say I know that for sure. You know that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like I mean, it feels truer than all the other bullshit I was
Yeah,
taught.
yeah. I do
So
point at it. I go, no, that's true. Fuck it.
well,
Might as well. Fuck it.
I've had things change so fast overnight with like psychedelic experiences or even this job I was just on in January.
Yeah.
Um, I've had like I'll tell you about this. In a night of ceremony, you know, you come in and you get all your stuff ready and you have a night of medicine work. You're doing medicine work till 2 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Um, and then you have all this insight and you integrate. You spend time integrating all those insights. Um, this job I was just at in January felt like that, but for a month.
Oh yeah.
It's like just my days are happening, and I'm having all of these openings and these things happening, and like I'm sitting in my meditation and just things are bubbling up in my consciousness more and more. Like I'm starting to see a lot of things very clearly, but it's in relationship to the suffering that I'm experiencing at this job, and I'm realizing like the modality in which you are practicing is all predicated on your ability to capture the insights as they're arising and then put them into practice. It doesn't necessarily, you don't necessarily need psychedelics. It
Right.
could be a lot of things. It could just be maybe your spouse passes away, or
Yeah.
maybe you get a terminal diagnosis, or
Yeah.
something like that. All of these things can produce these
That
insights.
forced the door to open.
Yes, the aperture can open in a lot of different ways. So, like,
Yeah.
this is part of why I say psychedelics judiciously used with discernment in the right container can be really powerful building your capacity
Hmm.
because you are consciously putting yourself into a state that is hard.
Yeah.
You're choosing to go to the gym and lift that 400-pound deadlift. You're choosing that. And then as you do it again and again and again, what it does is it creates this nervous system capacity. But you have to know how to be intentional.
Yeah.
And this is something that is a little lost on our culture because, like, I mean, you look at your phone and it glamorizes chasing peak states
Yeah.
because a lot of this work is not, it's not sexy,
Mm-mm.
it's not fucking fun,
No.
it's painful. You're sitting with yourself realizing, oh man, I've abandoned myself for 40 years. 40 years. I have chosen not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And the grief that comes with that, and having the space to actually be able to feel those things, feel those feelings after so many years. This is why people become, you know, when you meet older people that are really misanthropic,
Yeah. Yeah.
and you see like, or you see in Lord of the Rings Gollum. I use those archetypes because those archetypes are really easy reference points. Gollum and like a misanthropic old person is the definition of not processing those things as they occurred. They come out. That stuff comes out in your body. You can see on a person that they are being eaten on the inside.
Hmm.
Like, and it's something that there's a con, and this is because people weren't resourced. They didn't
Right.
have people to support them. They didn't have people to love them. Like maybe my story, you know, I'm 10. Maybe my mom didn't come back.
Mm.
Maybe she never came back. How different would I be?
Oh yeah.
And it feels like a roll of the dice. Like it feels we don't know. So
Yeah.
it's like, and once you start to connect to that and you look at other people and you're like, well, that guy's being a dickhead to me. Why is he being a dickhead to me?
Yeah.
Once you start to have compassion for you, you start to realize compassion for the other person. And then you're like, oh, how can I, how can I not transmit more negativity or more violence or more, how can I not add to the miasma? And
Right.
it's by doing the work internally, like what you've done.
Yeah.
It's like what you're doing in your community. You're healing people just by sharing your story. Like
Right.
you're consciously helping them do the thing, and that's exactly what it is. You're creating a container that lets people feel they have the capacity to actually articulate themselves and feel their feelings.
That's the goal.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's exactly it. Yeah.
I
Yep.
want people to be able to become their own guides, not so much me, holding their hands. I want them to go find out, do the wrong thing. Don't be so perfectionist about it because that's how
Yes.
we learn, right? And I also view symptoms as the way out. We need more symptoms. We need, because they are opportunities. And it
Yes.
sucks and it's horrible. And you're going to feel like you're making exorcisms jealous, but that's normal. That doesn't mean you're failing. So that's where I
Yeah.
try to, because that's what I took me 3 years because I kept falling. Had to get up and I was having to face, you know, the symptoms louder. And that's
Yes.
backwards. Am I not supposed to feel better? No, it's supposed to be a shit show. Okay, now that I can tell somebody that when it happens, they can go, oh, this is supposed to be normal. Okay, I'll ride the wave. I'll allow it. I'll let it do its thing.
Yes. Yes. The expectation that it's not going to be a shit show is in and of itself the suffering that you can avoid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yep.
That's awesome. So I guess we wanted to give some examples today of some of the personas or adaptive mechanisms that people might have. The typical ones, maybe you can give us a list of the typical ones and some that are kind of hidden that because I'm surprised constantly. I'm like, oh shit, I didn't even know that I do that. Why I do that. There's a lot of things that are hidden that I didn't that are coming out now.
A list of.
Maybe like five of them. The typical ones, I guess, the people pleasing one. That's pretty people
Okay,
pleaser.
we can.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, we'll start with the people pleasing one. So,
let's do it.
people pleasing is can manifest in a lot of different ways, but generally it is reflective of a part of someone's personality. Either it's a protection mechanism, it's looking for attention.
Mhm.
Um, maybe it's like I'm not doing this out of compassion and love and care. I'm connected to internally. I'm doing this because I'm looking for some kind of payoff. And that payoff can be in a lot of different things. It could be, like I said, attention, resources, um, simply recognition, being seen,
Yeah.
being a hunger to be seen. Uh, that 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 happens in a lot of romantic relationships. I've
Mm.
noticed. Um, it's like two partners. One partner is doing what the other partner wants to do. Like maybe they don't like watching football, but they watch football,
Yeah.
and when the football watching partner doesn't recognize when the not the fan does that, then they feel slighted. But the
Resentful.
person who's doing the people pleasing behavior is casting that other person as the villain in the story.
Yes.
And it's non-consensual, and they're creating their own problem
Yeah.
rather than setting strong boundaries. And this is part of the shadow portion it's below your level of awareness. You're just doing it kind of reflexively. You don't have the awareness to recognize your behavior. So when your partner's pissed at you for being pissed, they're actually pissed for a good reason, but you can't even know that that's a good reason. Does that make sense?
Yeah. You pretty much described a lot of me. Crazy, wanting to be seen, feeling, yeah, it's crazy. Like I didn't even notice this for a while, and it keeps coming up, and I'm trying like, why do I act? Why do I feel like? What am I? Right? It's what you described as a lot me.
Yeah, yeah. People pleasing is one. People who are controlling, want to control the situation. Um, there's a lot of dynamics for the control thing. Wanting somebody to do what you want them to do is that like that fear driven thing generally.
So if you control
You're
somebody, then you're safe because it at
you're
least
trying to you're trying to control your environment, and when
right.
people are in your environment, uh, those are also things that need to be controlled because it doesn't occur to the person who is controlling that safety is internally generated, not generated from your externals. This is the type of person that will never be satisfied with any amount of money, never be satisfied with any amount of security.
Mhm.
Like they could have walls and cameras and all of that stuff, but they're always feeling insecure. They're always
Right.
feeling like the ground is shifting underneath them. Um, and control comes in a lot of flavors as well. It's not necessarily a physical manifestation, but I know that I've experienced verbal control often, like in work situations or interpersonal situations where people are. You could do it very directly, or you could even do it like kind of passive aggressively. It's like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? Why did you choose that? Like people are questioning what you're doing as a form of control. Um,
Right.
but the control thing is predicated on somebody internally not feeling safe. They don't feel
Mm.
safe in their body, so they're like, where am I going to get my control? And you can see how that might have been my story
Yeah.
coming from, lack of control.
Yeah.
Taco Bell, am I going to die? Me and my sister just toast here in this desert. Like, um, there's the control thing. Um, Control can turn into power. Those two things are close together in terms of their like the pattern of energy because power over something um, is kind of like the like if it's on a spectrum and controls over here and powers over here. As you get closer, power is like a version of control, but it's beefier.
Yeah.
Um, uh, Power over is the same mechanism, but it's like as because we live in a world that has competition. We live in a world where we're not egalitarian. We're not, um, for the most parts of our world are.
Hmm.
But when you look at the world, at least when you look at it through your phone, it is dangerous and
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
um, it's necessary to have a certain amount of power. It's necessary, right? I need to have some sort of financial power. I need some sort of interpersonal capital to be able to parlay in a market, right? Like I need to be able to exist. And I also need like people in my community to look at me and value me, right?
Right.
Um, I think when people lean into power, they're like, I need people to value me more than others. I need
Right.
to be the most valuable. Um, and that comes from a situation. I mean, we all live in a world where we are worried about our well-being often.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and but it's just like the security thing. There's no amount of power that will ameliorate the feeling of a need for power inside you. Do you see what I'm saying? All of these
Yeah.
things, all of these things, like I need to be seen. See me, please see me. How much do you need to be seen in order to be seen enough? It's all of the archetypes themselves are all connected to hunger. There's a
Mm.
hunger for something, grasping, or an aversion to it. So like, and you can contextualize it however that unfolds. Um,
Yeah, that's a really good one. The power one. It's like desperately holding on to an identity, and I need to be the authority for me to feel, I don't know, worthy? Is that what it is?
it depends. It depends on the person.
Right.
Worthiness is common in our culture. I personally I deal with worthiness still because
Me
of
too. Yeah.
my own wound. Um,
Yeah.
I have and sometimes it doesn't matter the amount of evidence you have to the contrary. That part of your body just it flips on the engine light, and you're like, shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could be unworthiness. It can be, it can come from a need for security. It could come from a lot of different places. Just depends on the personality of the person. And I don't think it's always one of the things about archetypes and shadow work and things like that. Those words are tools to articulate ideas. So like earlier when I was talking, I was saying like the different words are valuable to the person, but only in the moment that they're valuable. So it's kind of like a model is useful until it's not. So
Right.
like you'll feel like this archetype shadow. Like let's say I had a power shadow, okay, and I called him the drill sergeant. As I'm doing work with the power drill sergeant and I'm starting to recognize it out in the world, and I started to see my interactions with my spouse and my friends and other people in business, and I'm starting to understand when those words are coming out of my mouth, my need for power, like, I think we're going to do it this way, or I'm scheduling the thing this way. It's like that power control overlap. As you start to become aware of those things, that drill sergeant, that's useful. You
Yeah.
start to understand that having some sort of power and control over situations is useful.
Yeah.
So that is not necessarily a bad thing. It can be recognized and integrated. So
Right.
like, so you can take that, like having good boundaries, being able to get what you need and take care of your family, and all of that's really good. The way in which you recognize it, how it comes up as a pattern of energy in your body, is part of the thing that matters in relationship to trying to do shadow work. So like, it starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Like maybe my wife would be like, "Why are you being such an asshole? Is the drill sergeant in town?" You
Ugh.
know, like she'll point at that, and see you. It's useful because what it does is it separates Josh from the drill sergeant. We recognize Josh is here, and drill sergeant isn't just an aspect of my personality, like of what's arising in my consciousness. And generally, that aspect is arising in relationship to specific things in the environment that might be triggering that pattern of energy. And then you start to see, or you can even start to predict. You could be like, oh, we're going to see your mother. Maybe be aware of any drill sergeant patterns that might be coming up in your body. So
Mm.
what that's doing is I'm resourcing externally and internally. I'm preparing. It's kind of like what you're doing with your container. You're creating a container where the drill sergeant is useful. Like one of the things I tell my clients is a rabid dog is useful in a moat. You just have to make sure that it's in the moat.
Right. Yeah.
You like if there's part of your personality that's like that, then it's there for a reason as a protective mechanism. It grew some reason in your environment. Something made you feel that way. So now you have this thing. You could say, "Hey, drill sergeant. thank you so much for your service. You've protected me, and I'm going into this situation. You can have this conversation with yourself. You could say, I'm going into this situation where you might feel like you need to express, um, but we're not in danger.
Right.
It's a completely safe situation, and I appreciate your input, but we can have you sit this one out. And this is a little bit. I'm articulating this only because it's a little bit advanced, but like, but when people are first understanding this, they don't have a lot of the awareness to be able to have a conversation with their internal dialogue. And it sounds kind of strange and woo woo, but it actually really works. So like, uh,
Isn't that
maybe
what
it doesn't.
Jung did with active imagination?
Yeah, this active imagination exercise.
Yeah.
It's IFS parts work stuff,
Right.
yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be an embodied character or something like that. It could be a cloud of blackness. It could be
Yes.
so many things. So like
Yeah.
when you're asking like what are exactly the archetypes? Well, there's so many. Like
Yeah.
it's like a tarot deck if there
Yeah.
was infinite cards. Like um, so like that's those are a few examples of shadow stuff, but there's lots and lots of different ways that they
What's the goal with
express.
like with trying to work with the shadow? Is it to become whole again? That's what I keep feeling and seeing. Or authentic, becoming your authentic self. And what is that?
In my experience, what I think shadow work is at its base is about a feeling of wholeness. I think
Right.
it's I think it's partially about that. I think what we do is there is a societal expectation of us being a certain way. And we get that from wherever we get it, our parents, school,
Yep.
work, whatever, what our phone, whatever, however we get that into our head. And then we play act something that is palatable to that expectation idea that we've built in our mind
Hmm.
rather than actually expressing from an
Right.
authentic place.
So we have to
And what
build an
happens,
adaptive mask to deal with that.
yeah, yes,
And it
yes,
works.
yes.
You need it. You need it there, I
It's
guess.
necessary. It's
Yeah.
necessary because you can't just be whatever you want to be out in the world. The cops will come get you. Like,
Right. Okay.
um,
That makes sense. Okay,
and
good.
so, but what we lose when we lose tight knit communities that provided opportunities to express ourselves more holistically, express maybe parts of ourselves that are not necessarily culturally
Yeah.
um, acceptable to the different cultures that we inhabit, because we're all inhabiting different layers of culture and different types of in-group, out-group experience dynamics, business, personal, friend groups, different friend groups.
Yeah.
We're experiencing that all the time. Um,
Yeah.
Authentic expression, I think, has to do more with how we judge ourselves internally and how we express. Like, I don't have to just say whatever I want to you to be able to articulate myself authentically. I actually just shot a video just a second
Makes
ago
sense.
about this. Like, authentic expression is expressing from a grounded place where you're aware
Right.
of all parts. So, this is the way I like to imagine it. Imagine we are internally, you have a council, and that council is made up of humans, men, women, goblins, wizards, demons, creatures of all types, and they're all gathered around a fire.
Yeah.
And they're all clamoring for attention and whatever they need. One's the drill sergeant's there. He's like, "You're gonna do it this way," and different parts of you are all around the council. But you are the fire they're gathered around. You are the light cast on them. You're the awareness.
Right.
So, like, an authentic expression is the sounds that come to the fire. All of your parts have a say, and they all feel seen.
Heard and
That's
see.
what
Okay. Yeah.
authentic expression is. But that occurs inside.
Hmm.
You have shadow stuff happen when people come out of the light of the fire, and you have no awareness of the expression that comes from those shadow parts. So, shadow work is bringing those shadows back into the fold and saying, yes, I have a drill sergeant part of me. Yes, I have a part of me that hungers for power. And when you accept those parts of yourself, your counsel is more whole and can articulate. You can come from this place. When you interact with people that have a sense of presence, they had this wow, like, wow, that person is like powerful and like something, there's something about them. This is what they're doing. They are not in denial about the parts of themselves that might not be savory to everyone, because we are all human. We are all part of the collective consciousness, and we all have these archetypes operating inside of us. And to be in denial about any of these things creates its own dis-ease internally.
Yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. So it kind of goes along with what you're articulating in your container as well. You're creating a space for all parts. And so, like, when I'm talking about the council includes your body. It includes your hands, it includes your feet, your face, your body. I was 300 pounds, so I have like a lot of extra skin, you know? Like, my judgment, whatever judgment's coming up in my head in relationship to that, maybe you have other things in your body, but like all of those things are happening in your consciousness. And the denial of something rather than an acceptance, it's just like how you would care for that hurt child
Hmm.
at that Taco Bell. The drill sergeant needs the same love and care and compassion as that child does. Your body needs the same love and care and compassion. It's not separate. None of those things are separate.
Would you say that your weight loss had a lot to do with the shadow? Because I'm struggling with my weight loss with bad habits, and I've been trying to work with the shadow, and I think I've done enough with it. It's not moving. I think I just
I would
ran
I would
into some
ask
bad
you
habits.
the thing I would ask you is, can you put your attention into your chest, touch your heart, and ask yourself, like, tell yourself,
Yeah.
I'm here for you now, in earnest. Like, I love you as you are. And if you can feel like it's true, if you could feel like it's true, like like knowing the moon is in the sky, truth with a
Right.
capital T. If you can't feel love and compassion for yourself, all parts,
Mhm.
and it's work. It takes time to gather everybody around the council, and you're always finding things. Things are always changing. If you can't connect to that feeling, that's the place that I would start in relationship to weight. Because loving your body looks away.
Mm.
And it might be different for you than it is for me, but caring for yourself, knowing the right thing to do, and then doing it means you could have some kind of block internally in
Mhm.
relationship to caring for everything that is you. Does that
Mm.
make sense?
Yeah, it's something that I'm gonna have to sift through slowly. Because when you did, I was like, shit came up, but I was like, I'm confused. I'm not sure.
Yes. Yeah, and because it's not an immediate yes,
Right.
that's exactly where to look. Anytime you're feeling that kind of friction related to that, but because what you'll find is as you connect to that internally, what you'll find is you will just stop reaching for the thing to make you feel better in the moment, and you'll start reaching for the thing that is better.
Hmm.
You're not trying so much to ameliorate the symptom, because for me, I used food as a um, I think the way an alcoholic uses alcohol. Like there was never enough. There was never enough food, and it could be whatever. And I had like all the things that I returned to. My wife calls it depression cake.
Oh, okay.
I'd just eat a whole cake, like, and that's not self love because it would make me feel like shit. But I
Yeah.
didn't have the awareness at the time to know how shitty I was treating myself. And
I
it's
feel
not
I
that.
feel a little bit of sadness when I look at myself and go, "Why do you do this to yourself?" I feel sad. I feel bad for my body.
Yes, yes, yes. But why don't you deserve to be treated well?
Yeah.
And see, this
Well,
this
you're gonna
goes
make
back.
me fucking cry right now.
This is how I talk to clients.
Yeah. Shit.
Yeah, you've got this, man.
That's
You
cool.
you are on the path. You are already walking the path.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amazing.
you're doing it
You know what? We gotta have you back. I'm sure, like, we could talk about this kind of stuff and go down all kinds of, things.
for sure.
Uh, yeah. You know what? We should have you back in maybe a couple of a month or whatever you're available. We'll pick another
Sure,
topic. I'm sure people in the comments will go, "Can we talk about this?" And then we'll take one thing and then we can talk about it. What do you
I
think?
love it. Definitely,
Awesome.
absolutely. I love. Yeah, I just watched Casablanca. Do you know that movie?
Yes, I love that
Uh,
movie.
yeah, it looks like a beginning of a great friendship.
Yeah. I love those old movies. They just bring you to different time. It's like I've lived those times before in a past life, which is another thing
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
obsessed with.
man, I just got one aside for a Casablanca thing. I was watching it. I was on the plane coming back from LA,
Yeah.
and there's this scene at the beginning where the transit papers. There, he gets the transit papers and he hides them, and then the prefecture police are coming to grab that guy, and he pulls a gun
Right.
and he pops off 4 rounds into the club, and nobody screams. No screaming.
Right.
Nobody. Bogart goes out there. He's like, everybody just keep having a good time, see? And then he walks off, and nobody leaves. I'm like, what? What? I'm like trying to conceptualize. I'm like,
Yeah.
that place would be done. Like
Yeah,
nobody
yeah,
left.
yeah.
They're like, screw it, keep drinking.
Yeah.
Like
They were tough back then. They didn't feel their
it was
emotions back then.
crazy. I'm like asking chat. I'm like, is this a like a film artifact or like what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
changed? Like it was wild.
No, that's
Oh my
awesome.
God.
I want to check it out. I want to watch the movie again.
You should.
Awesome.
It's worth watching just for that scene because it's like, holy shit, things have changed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I think we're good for now for here. Thank you for coming. This was really huge. I had so much fun talking about this. And we're gonna have you back and we'll put all your links in the description so people can check you out. And then
Cool.
we gotta
Cool.
have you back, man. I'm excited to talk to you again.
Yeah, I'd love that, man. I'd really appreciate the invite.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.